morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today's webinar with Cambium Networks. Today's host is Bruce Collins, and he is the Senior Director of Product Line Manager. He'll be presenting today, and if anyone has any questions, please be sure to submit them in the question box, and Bruce will have the opportunity to answer them at the end of today's presentation. Bruce, it's a pleasure to have you back. I'm so happy to say that Microcom is very pleased to have you with us today. So we're looking forward to your presentation. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
All right, well, thanks, Julie, and thanks to the Microcom team for putting this together and inviting me to present. I'm going to cover kind of an overview of fixed wireless for outdoor applications. And for those of you that are quite familiar with fixed wireless, don't worry, we'll drill into some details as well. But for some of you that might be new to fixed wireless and what you can do with it, maybe you're coming from an enterprise side or private network side, I want to kind of give you an example of 3 different ways that we do fixed wireless for outdoor solutions. So we're going to cover that in a little bit of a deep dive, and then I'll specifically talk about our bridge-in-a-box solutions that we offer for point-to-point links. But I'll get into all that, and then there'll be plenty of time for question and answer at the end. So if you have questions, be thinking about those now. Just as a level set on Cambium networks, I always start with this diagram. It's Cambium's one network approach, and really what it means and what you see on here is a variety of technical solutions for connectivity. And if you kind of go around the outside of the circle, you'll see point-to-point applications, just connecting point A to point B. You'll see point to multi-point, which you can think of like hub and spoke or distributed networks. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see Wi-Fi, indoor and outdoor access points, and then switching. And really what ties all of this together is our CN Maestro management platform, and then as well as all of the services that we can provide for support and everything else, and warranty and all that good stuff. So really what we're going to focus on today is the left-hand side of this diagram, and we're going to talk about point-to-point and point-to-multipoint applications and how, and I'll give you some examples of how they're being used today. So speaking of that, here's really when we talk about fixed wireless and outdoor solutions, really talking about anytime I want to connect some buildings together. That could be a college campus or an education environment. It could be a resort community. I'm connecting up buildings. Could be a business park. This is also commonly used as a fiber extension or alternative. So Cambium also offers a GPON solution in the fiber space. So these play really nicely with fiber. So if you want to put up fiber, you can put this up as a backup. Oftentimes fiber takes a long time to deploy, so I can put this up in the meantime while I'm waiting for the fiber. We do a lot of outdoor backhauling of whether it's outdoor Wi-Fi access points or CCTV video surveillance cameras. Of course, last mile access for residential and home users of internet. That's probably the biggest volume of radios that we deploy. But it's just one of these applications. We also, and I'll show you some examples, some temporary events. So whether it's a concert or a farmer's market or a golf tournament, we provide connectivity to these events so that they can backhaul. So those people that are doing those events can do things like credit card processing for the merch tent or for the food sales, as well as providing internet access and Wi-Fi for the attendees. So really what we would like to pride ourselves on is we can take that private indoor network and we can bring it outside. So everything you're used to doing with layer 2 networks, security and all those features that come along with indoor networks, we can bring that outside and connect everything on the outside of the enterprise. And the verticals that we really talk about are MDUs, multi-dwelling units, and hospitality. We have industrial, so whether you're talking about freight rail companies, oil and gas, electric utilities, logistics companies, so think of all these warehouses you see on the side of the road as you're driving around. We are working with many of those warehouse providers to provide connectivity for their vehicles as well as their employees as they approach the lot, both for safety, security, and Wi-Fi access. The municipalities and public safety, of course, big features there are video for surveillance and security, as well as Wi-Fi for citizens, and then ISPs, which I guess we all know, wireless internet service providers offering business and residential services. So one of the questions I get is, why don't we just put fiber everywhere? And I just kind of illustrate that with a few pictures here. Ultimately, the reason that you want to deploy wireless as an alternative to fiber is that it is faster to market, and in almost all cases is lower cost as well. I see quotes all the time where just repairing the landscape or the hardscape in a parking lot just swamps the cost of the equipment, and as well as the time it takes to get all those permits approved and everything set up for that. Certainly in areas like a historical significance, you can't do this at all. So wireless becomes a great alternative because it's faster. You can start collecting that revenue faster. You can start getting that solution up and on the air a lot faster. And then speaking of speed, a lot of times people say, well, fiber is just so much faster. Well, as it turns out, the latest wireless technology, especially if you haven't looked at this in the last few years, has really come a long ways. And we're talking about gigabit per second speeds now. And you can see a couple examples there. There's a symmetrical 1 gig service in the speed test. There's a iPerf output showing a 1.5 gig in the speed. So really, the speed has caught up, at least to provide the services that you need for many of these applications. So whether it's backing up fiber, extending fiber, or being a replacement to fiber. And another sort of high level point is that as we talk about the different topologies, you'll hear me reference point to point, which is just connecting point A to point B, as simple as it can be. And within the Cambium One network, we have a wide variety of capabilities. So you can see anywhere from 100 megabits per second up to 20 gigabits per second. So lots of capacities available with point to point. You can go 100 meters out to 60 plus kilometers. One of the things that people aren't always aware of is that we offer a lot of point-to-point solutions that can be deployed at street level, or maybe on just the roof of your building. So you don't have to think in terms of tower height or cellular tower masts. You can do these at street level and even on rooftops where it's easier and more convenient to install. And then we cover a wide range of spectrum. So we'll get into a little bit of that when I talk about 6 gigahertz here in a moment. Then we also do point to multipoint. That's kind of also what you think of. In the picture here, you can see there's a hub on the top of the building, and then arrayed around that are a variety of radios spanning, it can be as 360-degree coverage, or you can point these in a direction that you want to provide coverage. And again, these can cover anywhere from 100 meg up to 2 gigabits per second, lots of range, 100 meters out to 10 kilometers. And what's really unique to Cambium is that we're able to scale down to just a few devices economically. So if you just want to connect up a handful of cameras or a few Wi-Fi access points, you can do that, and you can do it economically. If you want to go to thousands of devices, and we have networks of over 400, 500,000 subscribers in a given network, you can certainly scale up to those thousands of devices in a very high density network as well. And as well as providing that spectral diversity where you can pick and choose which frequencies you want to run these in. And then the last sort of topology I'll mention is distributed networks. And this is really, you might see these referred to as mesh networks. And with our 60 gigahertz solution, what we've been able to deploy and over many years now is this distributed network. And what this really allows you to do is build out a network covering a large geographic area, but with lots of resilience, so that any one given link doesn't take the network down. It has sort of self-resilience and self-redundancy built in. And then you can also expand that as you need. You don't have to worry about where's my next tower going to go. I can just extend that network off into whatever direction I find demand. And it also gives you lots of capacity because we're using 60 gigahertz for this. We're talking 3.8 gigabits per second every time I add a new fiber pop to these distributed networks. And what's common across all of these is they're all managed by our CN Maestro management platform. You can plan all these with our free link planner tool. If you're concerned about how you're going to integrate this with your network, it's all simple layer 2 network integration. So it's very straightforward to connect right into your network. You can design these using Link Planner. You can look at what's the availability, and we see networks deployed at 5 nines, 4 nines, 4.5 nines. You can kind of dial that in, and Link Planner will give you exactly what the availability is in the location you're at. So if you're in California, if you're in Illinois, like where I am, you can put that in, and it will take into account the rain region, the latitude, all of the elevations. It'll take all of that into account and provide you that very precise summary of what you can expect for availability. And then we've tested these products and had them vetted by everyone from the Department of Defense to some of the largest enterprises in the world to some very large service providers. So we've kind of run the gamut of a variety of different security requirements. And the nice thing is all of that's baked into the product. So I'm going to talk about 3 specific technologies. The first I'll talk about is 60 gigahertz, and that's our cnWave platform. And that's the one I mentioned, which is the distributed mesh. But of course, you can also deploy that in point-to-point or point-to-multipoint. This product's been out for a few years now, and it is we're up over 65,000 units deployed globally. I'll give you some examples of how these are deployed. But really think of this as we kind of sometimes refer to this as wireless fiber. It's in multiple gigabits per second, and it's highly resilient because of the meshing capability. Some of the benefits of using 60 gig over, say, traditional 5 gig is that 60 gig is in general a clean spectrum. These are some pictures of an oil and gas field in Texas. It's clean spectrum. It won't compete with your Wi-Fi. So if you're trying to run a Wi-Fi network in the same area, this won't compete because it uses completely different spectrum. So there's no worry of interfering with Wi-Fi or being interfered with from Wi-Fi or any of the other 5 gigahertz solutions that are out there. So like I mentioned a couple times, it's really a great adjunct or extension on fiber. Lots of capacity. And the other nice thing about this is it really is true zero touch. You provision the radio in the CN Maestro management platform. And then when the installer goes out into the field and attaches it to one of these masts or towers, it will automatically connect, download its configuration, and you're good to go. So great return on investment with TCO. It's a 3-year warranty and really a cost-effective solution to getting that amount of capacity spread out. One of the things I want to highlight is a couple of case studies. This is really kind of, I think of this picture as the ultimate in density. This is a very large number of users in a relatively small area. This is about maybe a half a mile by 3/4 of a mile RV park down in Arizona. And they replaced their existing cabled environment with this wireless communications with cnWave. And you can see the density that they're able to achieve. All these users in this area are averaging 700 megabits per second, and they can get up to a gigabit per second in their speed tests. Low latency. And at the same time, if you look in the picture here, you'll see this is one of the cnWave radios at the top of this at the guardhouse. And then just below it is one of Cambium's outdoor Wi-Fi access points. So in addition to providing access to all of these RVs, and you'll see the little radios on the top of these, they're also able to provide public Wi-Fi. So places like they have pickleball courts, they have a community center, they have a pool area. They're providing outdoor Wi-Fi to all of those using the exact same network. So really a nice solution, and it illustrates just how dense you can make these networks. Switching to a kind of a completely different environment this is a solution on Fremont Street in Las Vegas. And if you've been there before, you'll know that there's a very congested area. There's a lot of people there, a lot of people walking around with the phones. And we worked with a partner here that was looking to put some cameras in. They wanted to do some Wi-Fi for, not in this case, not for the public users, but for the security folks and the police and fire and others. They wanted Wi-Fi for public safety. They did some IoT sensors, and they really had a choice of using fixed 5G. They could have used traditional 5 gigahertz. They could have used the cellular network. They could have used CBRS. They kind of had the whole toolbox. And what they decided to choose was 60 gigahertz and CN Wave from Cambium to provide that. And the nice thing about, and the other thing I mentioned about this is it starts out with about a 4 block by 2 block area. And then they're able to extend this network and add on as additional funds become available. They will extend this network, and just by using that distributed mesh, they can drop in additional distribution nodes and expand the network. The other area that you can do with this, and this example is actually in an oil field. This is a central tank battery out in West Texas. But you can see here, it's kind of a campus environment. You can imagine these are all separate buildings on a campus, or it could be a series of apartment buildings. And what they're able to do here is deploy this in a hub and spoke fashion, where I put my 60 gig solution on the main building where I have a fiber access, and then put all these links everywhere from 60 meters out to 900 meters across to all these different locations. Now they're planning to build some mesh links in here as well to build some resilience into the network. But you can see how you can kind of start with a simple point-to-point, go to what we call hub and spoke or multi-point, and then later on add some resiliency using the distributed network. Here's another example. This is in these warehouses that we see all over the country and all around the world. What's kind of interesting is they're all very much cookie cutter. They're very much the same. There's a large warehouse in the middle, there's a parking area, and then surrounding the edge of that network or the edge of that property is light standards. And what most of these warehouse companies and logistics companies are looking to do is provide cameras, Wi-Fi, so that as these vehicles come in here and park, the drivers have access to the network, the IoT and the sensors and everything on those trucks have access to the network. And so as vehicles approach, they're able to start communicating and makes the whole operation more effective. So one of the things we like to talk about is bridge in a box, because it really simplifies the deployment of fixed wireless. So if you yourself are, say you're in an IT department and you just want to go off and add a connection out to the edge of your facility, you can drop in a bridge in a box. Here you can see our 60 gigahertz bridge in a box. You can go out to out to a kilometer, so half a mile away. If you want to go a little bit shorter, you can use the 1 GB version. But basically, it's a layer 2 bridge, so you can bridge your internal network out to wherever it needs to be. So if I just want to put a camera out there, an access point, or maybe there's a guardhouse I want to have a connection to for a lift gate, can do that, and you can see all the different applications of this. And the nice thing about the 2 GB model is it does have a PoE output port. So oftentimes customers will deploy this with a single drop cable, and then they'll daisy chain or connect a camera or Wi-Fi access point directly to that 2 GB, so that I have just a single cable going up, and it's a very simple installation. And even for those of you that are on the service provider side, we have many service providers that will send these out to their customer and have them do a self-install, because everything is pre-configured. I just take it, it comes 2 radios in the box. I take them out of the box, they're pre-paired, pre-configured, and all I have to do is mount it and point them at each other, and I have a layer 2 connection. And in this case, 2 gigabits per second. We also offer our bridge in a box in a 5 gigahertz, which is what we call our bridge in a box UHD Pro. This will go a little bit further distance. It'll go up to 5 miles, 600 megabits per second. It comes in a ruggedized IP67 housing. The radios on the other page were as well, the 60 gigahertz bridge in a box. So these are all weatherproof. And similar applications, this one just gives you a little bit further distance, and it gives you 600 megabits per second. So another nice solution for bridge in a box. So I'm going to shift gears now and talk a bit about 6 gigahertz. Some of you may have heard about 6 gigahertz. In the US and Canada, this is a new piece of spectrum, that has just opened up just this year. And it really is a game changer for this unlicensed point-to-point, point-to-multipoint business. You'll see it adds, in the US, it adds 850 megahertz of new spectrum in this bar marked yellow, or marked in blue, and 6 gigahertz. And then there's an additional 100 megahertz available to Canada. So Canada actually gets 950 megahertz of spectrum. And one of the things that I'll talk about here on the next slide is what's called an AFC. But suffice it to say, this is new spectrum. It's clean spectrum because it hasn't been used in the past, and it gives you the ability to really generate lots more capacity using that unlicensed spectrum. There is one caveat. These systems use what we call an AFC, or an automatic frequency coordination. When the FCC went to open up 6 gigahertz spectrum, their goal was to protect the incumbent licensed microwave holders. So in the world today, in the US, the 6 gigahertz spectrum has traditionally been used with like public utilities, public freight rail companies, some I guess, yeah, electric utilities, freight rail, some oil and gas, anywhere that's very rural and remote areas, they'll use 6 gigahertz licensed spectrum because it gives you great range. Well, there's also lots of pockets of that spectrum that aren't being used. So the FCC said, how can we open up this spectrum so that we get a lot more users on that precious spectrum while protecting the incumbents? And that's the whole point of the AFC. The AFC does not provide any exclusive access. It's not like a licensing service where I'm going to get access to this channel. All it's going to say is, if you look at the top, when the radio comes online, it's going to say, here's where I am, what channels are available to me, what can I use and at what power level. That request will go out to the cloud to something called an AFC server, which will check the FCC's database of incumbent 6 gigahertz license holders. And then it will return back and say, you can use any of these channels up to these power levels. And you can kind of see, here's a screenshot from the EPMP platform showing which channels are available. So keep in mind that the channels that it's going to provide are just a list of available channels. You can pick any of those. And once you pick that, you don't have exclusive access to it. Once you're on that channel, you're just like operating in the 5 gigahertz spectrum. It's an unlicensed, non-exclusive. So that's sometimes a misconception. So I wanted to kind of repeat that point. The other thing that's different about 6 gigahertz from 5 gigahertz is that it is a 36 dBm EARP limitation. So that's a combination of the radio power plus the antenna gain. And that's a little different than how 5 gigahertz worked, because in 5 gig, you could have higher EIRP at the subscriber module or the remote end. In this case, it's symmetrical. The max is 36 at the AP and the max is 36 at the SM, and the radio will enforce that. The other thing that's important is that we include this in AFC service and interface within the radio, so there's no extra charge for that. When you take the radio out of the box and connect it, it already knows how to sort of phone home to this AFC server, so it knows how to do that. We take care of all the cost of that AFC server, which is included in the cost of the radio. So you don't have to worry about making an account on the AFC server or anything like that. It's all taken care of behind the scenes. I will tell you that we work with Qualcomm as our AFC provider. There are multiple AFC providers out there, but Cambium is standardized on the Qualcomm server. If you're interested in 6 gig, I'd encourage you to go on to cambiumnetworks.com. What we have there is a couple of nice tools that let you see what exact channels are available in my area. So I picked here, this is a train yard just south of Chicago. If I take this tool is free, you can just go and put in any address or just click anywhere on the map, and it will tell you what channels are available at different channel sizes. So anywhere from 20 meg up to 160 megahertz channels. And if you see the bar at the top up here at 36, that means I can use any of these channels at full power. If I was to pick one of these channels that's down here at, say, 25 dBm, the radio would automatically reduce its transmit power to stay within that limit. And again, that's just to protect, there may be a 6 gigahertz license link in that area on this channel. So it's really there as a notch to protect that particular link that's in service. So you can go on to our webpage and click to your heart's content, determine which channels are available. The other thing I would highlight is you can put the height of the radio, and oftentimes that has a significant change in what's available, especially if you're out west in a mountainous area. Oftentimes the 6 gigahertz links are mountaintop to mountaintop. So if you stay on a relatively low elevation, you'll see more channels available. If you start to go up alongside those radios on top of a mountaintop, you'll see more 6 gig, and you'll have fewer options to choose from for channels. So you can play with that height as well. I'm going to just briefly mention the products in 6 gigahertz. The product that we have launched today is the EPMP 4600 series. It's the latest in our EPMP platform that's been available for over 10 years now. The capabilities of EPMP, you can see we've gone up to 4 gigabits per second now. So with the latest generation, significant capacity. With our 5 gigahertz version, you can do 8x8. With 6 gigahertz, you can do 4x4. What that means is I can scale up to lots of density in a particularly tight area. With our 6 gig, we've also increased the performance by adding 160 meg channels, because again, you've got all that clean spectrum to play with. So I can actually go in and deploy a 160 megahertz channel, and I can run it at 4096 QAM. If you're using our 4600C subscriber module. So lots of performance. I mentioned about scalability. You can scale these to a small sector, and because the cost is effective there, and then I can scale up to a very large number of clients per sector. And again, all of these come with a 3-year warranty. You can manage them with CN Maestro. And then one of the things I would highlight is that we are backwards compatible. So if you deploy our 5 gigahertz latest generation, it will talk to those subscriber modules from the 3 series. So for those of you that have been deploying the Force 300 series, those will talk to the Force 4000 series, or the EPMP 4000 series. And this kind of gives you a sense. There are some alternative products that are out there. We look at EPMP as being the most cost effective. And you can see whether you're talking about a lightly loaded sector or a very dense sector, you'll come in significantly lower price point with a combination of the access point and the subscriber module. So I really encourage you to take a look at that, and you can go on our website. We have a capacity planner. It'll show you what kind of capacity you can expect to see, whether you're using 5 gigahertz or 6 gigahertz. But this really does open up the ability to offer packages like 250 meg symmetrical, 500 meg symmetrical, 1 gig. We have customers doing all of those with this 6 gigahertz product line. And included this in the deck. It gives you some examples of how far you can go. So you can see an example of going out a couple miles. You can still get 930 meg down and 435 up. And of course, if you're in that sort of half a mile to a mile range, you're going to be close to a gig symmetrical. So lots of capacity here. The last topic I wanted to talk about was really our E-band, which is going up in spectrum. We talked about 60, we talk about 6, now let's talk about 80 gigahertz. So this is the highest spectrum and highest frequency in the spectrum chart. It also gives us the highest capacity. So this is a new product for Cambium. It's called the PTP 850EX. And probably the most important thing about this is I can do lots of capacity. So if I want to connect 2 buildings on my campus and I want to do 10 gigabits per second, and that's 10 gig in each direction, or if I want to do 20 gig in each direction, I can do that using the PTP 850EX. So lots of capacity. This is what we call a lightly licensed technology. So you need to have a call number with the FCC, and then you license each link by putting in the location of each link in your network. But it's very lightly licensed. It's not as much frequency coordination as you would see with like an 11 or 18 gigahertz licensed microwave. This really is a lightweight licensing and really effective solution for just if I want to connect 2 campuses that are across the highway from each other, or I want to extend that fiber backbone somewhere that it's not currently sitting. Makes a great solution, and it's very low latency, sub 1 millisecond latency on these. So really high capacity, low latency. And here's a picture of it. This is a brand new product. We're just starting to ship this now. So you can see what it's called, the PTP 850EX. So if you're wanting the ultimate in capacity, this is the product to take a look at. So kind of in summary, I covered a little bit about the topology and what fixed wireless can do for your outdoor environment. Talked about 60 gigahertz and its wireless fiber capabilities in the way that it can provide lots of resilience and capacity. We talked about 6 gigahertz, which is new spectrum. So 850 megahertz of a new clean spectrum here in the US and 950 in Canada. And then closed up with the latest PTP 850EX product, which will do 20 gigabits per second. So with that, Julie, I covered a lot of ground. See if there's any questions that came in.
Thank you so much, Bruce. Appreciate it. Enjoyed that very much. And I do have some questions here for you. Let's get started with the first one. You ready to go?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All righty, here we go. What kind of environments and use cases are best suited for Cambium Networks outdoor fixed wireless solutions?
Okay. So yeah, it's a good question. It's a broad question. I guess when you talk about environments, maybe you're talking about weatherproof and temperature grade. So just about all of these products that I covered today are good, at least minus 40 C to plus 60 C. In some cases, they go as high as plus 70 C. So very wide temperature range. Almost everything I covered today is IP67, which means it's watertight and dust tight. So from an environmental standpoint, these are all very ruggedized. One of the things that the question might be referring to is rain regions. One of the things you have to keep an eye on with 60 gigahertz especially is that it is prone to rain fade. But the nice thing is Link Planner, which is again a free tool, will tell you how far or what's the range I can put these links in and still have 4 nines or 5 nines availability. So it takes into account the worst case rain scenario in each location. And so when I put in the exact location, whether I'm in an area prone to hurricanes, or if I'm in an area prone to no rain at all, like the desert, it will tell you what's the worst case, and it will calculate all that for you. So I think that's it was kind of a general question, but I think if I didn't quite get it all, maybe they can ask a follow-up.
Certainly, it sounds very good though, Bruce. Thank you so much. Let's just jump right into the next question here. Here we go. Can you describe the antenna technologies used in your outdoor fixed wireless products?
Yeah, another good question. So as you can imagine, the antenna technology varies quite a bit. When we're talking everywhere from, we have products within the Cambium portfolio that are 900 megahertz all the way up to, you could see 80 gigahertz. So the antenna technology will vary over the different platforms, but we have products that use simple panel antennas. We have some patch array antennas. We have, as you get into the multi-point world, we use electronically beam steering antennas. And the benefit you get with the beam steering antennas is that they will take multiple sort of transmit receive columns in those antennas. And by combining the different load on each of those antennas, you can steer the beam that's coming out of the antenna. And the benefit you get is twofold. One is I get some additional gain because I'm putting all of the energy in one particular direction from that antenna. And I'm also listening in one particular direction from that remote end, which means that I'm ignoring some of the noise that might be coming from outside of that focused beam. It also, using our multi-user MIMO technology, allows you to create multiple beams. So I mentioned an 8x8 EPMP 4500 product that has it's an 8x8 antenna, which means I can form 4 separate beams and I can talk to 4 separate endpoints at the same time. And so if I have 4 subscribers that all want to send me data at the same time, the access point will say, okay, I'm going to create 4 different beams. I'm going to listen to all 4 of you at the same time, and I'm going to effectively quadruple the capacity for that instant in time. So that's what we call multi-user MIMO gain. So, and then, you know, the other antennas we talk about are traditional dish antennas, parabolic dishes that we go all the way up to 6-foot dishes on some of these products. So you can imagine the antenna technologies and selections are just as varied as the radios themselves.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Bruce. Next question here for you. What reporting and analytics capabilities does CN Maestro X offer?
Yeah, so CN Maestro X is our network management system, and CN Maestro is the version with no charge. So you can just use that to manage all your networks, and you can do all the performance monitoring and statistics and configuration pushes and firmware updates, a nice geographical map and everything of what you can see with the network. We also offer what's called CN Maestro X, which is a subscription service. And what that does is it extends the amount of time that we store data. So if you want to have, say, with the Essentials product, you can have, say, 30 days of storage. With X, you can go up to a year's worth of storage, so I can start to see seasonality and performance and changes. We also have some more reporting structures and capabilities in the Maestro X. But one of the nice things about Maestro and the fact that it works with all of these different products is that you'll see performance across whatever technology you're looking at. So if you have a mixed network of 60 gig, 6 gig, maybe you have some of our fiber PON solution, you can see all that in one location, and you can see reporting on outages, system availability, capacity, how much usage in the network has been, how much data has been consumed. And you can start to break that down and see who are my top talkers, who should I upgrade from, say, a 100 meg service to a gig service. Really gives you a great insight into the operation of your network.
Thank you, Bruce, so much for that. Thank you again. Let's see here. Next question. How do you ensure data privacy and integrity across your network solutions?
Okay, all right, good, good. We're running the gamut of questions here, so that's
Yeah.
that's good. So the one nice thing when we go through all of these security audits, and like I said, we've gone through security audits by Department of Defense and some large enterprise companies, is that we don't store any user data on the radios themselves. It's all passed through. So that's kind of the short answer, is that we're not storing any information that would be used to identify the user or the connection or the device that's at the end, or the data that device would be transmitting. So none of that is stored. The other way that we protect it, though, is that we do have layers of security on all of these radios. So they have secure management interfaces using HTTPS and logins, passwords. You can set up multiple layers of security using, you can also use VLANs to make sure I can only get in on a certain VLAN. The over-the-air transmissions are encrypted. So there's really, it's really a layered set of security capabilities. And I think if you throw pretty much any IT group security requirements at it, that goes for large oil and gas and utility companies, municipalities, like I mentioned, defense, you'll find that the capabilities stack up pretty well and are aligned to the state of the art on enterprise security.
Thank you, Bruce. Next question here for you. How can a customer reach out to Cambium for customer care or technical support? I'm guessing you could probably go to your website, and if so, can you give us some direction on that?
Absolutely. So yeah, if you go to cambiumnetworks.com and there's a support section there, I think you can even go right to support.cambiumnetworks.com. There's options there to open a trouble ticket right from that site. You can also see all of the the latest firmware updates and software downloads. You can get access to our tools like Link Planner, Capacity Planner, that 6 gigahertz spectrum tool. We also, so that's probably the way I'd recommend getting started. The other great resource is our community, which is community.cambiumnetworks.com. And that is really a place for you to post any questions you might have. You'll get responses from your peers in the community that are using the products. You'll get responses from the engineering team at Cambium. Some of our distributors and partners like Microcom are on there, and they will answer questions. And then you can also, and product managers like myself are on there as well. So you can get access to a lot of great resources at community.cambiumnetworks.com. And then I should also mention, you know, the team at Microcom has a lot of knowledge and experience with these platforms as well. So that's something else to keep in mind.
Thank you so much, Bruce. I'm glad you told us about the community portion that one can go to, because yes, people can find lots of answers there. Thank you so much for that. Last question here for you. What is the default IP address of Cambium Bridge in a Box?
Wow, so we've gone from the real high level to the very
Yeah.
Let's see, you're going to test my knowledge of trivia here.
Uh-oh.
I do believe it's oh, I'm going to get this wrong, but I'll throw it out there. It's on the box for one thing, so if you have one, you can look on the box. I believe it's 192.168.1.254, but don't quote me on that. If you want to ask on the forum, we'll definitely get you the answer on that, but I think that's what it is.
Excellent. But it's on the
we'll
box when
that.
one has one.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you, Bruce, for answering all of those questions for us today. And thank you to everyone for also attending. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded so we can view it again, or go on the community channel. Thank you so much. I didn't realize that, and I realize that is such a huge wealth of information there. Bruce, until next time, I will keep in touch with you. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
All right, thanks, everyone.